This year with Samsung, you know, it really is just about one thing, and that is the gulf between the Exynos chipset and Snapdragon chipset versions of their flagship phones. And there really is a big difference in top-end power, in efficiency, in image processing. It is true, there is a difference, and there's even a petition online to get Samsung to stop selling Exynos versions of their flagship phones. Samsung cannot admit this. They can't come out and say that the Exynos phones are inferior, but they essentially have just admitted it, not overtly, but this news story is definitely good news for those Exynos markets. This is news out of Korea that says that Samsung may actually swap out the Exynos 990 that they used in the S20 phones in those Exynos markets for a new chipset. Before you get your hopes up, it's not a Snapdragon chipset. It's an Exynos chipset, but not the 990, a new, improved and more powerful Exynos chipset. According to this report, Samsung are working on, not just working on, but possibly putting a new chipset into Note 20 phones, the Exynos 992, and this is an upgrade over the 990. Samsung have said to not just have made some improvements, not just overclocking the 990, but this is in fact a new and improved chipset. It's manufactured on a 6nm node, which is the next step after 7, obviously. 7nm is what the Exynos 990 and Snapdragon 865 are manufactured on. This 6nm will bring with it a performance improvement at the top end and also greater power efficiency too. Also, according to the report, the power of this new 992 chipset will be more or less the same as the Snapdragon 865, actually even possibly beating out the Snapdragon 865 by a margin of maybe 1 to 3%. All in all, that is more or less the same. You won't notice too much difference. However, that is a massive jump from the Exynos 990, which lags the Snapdragon 865 by, depending on which benchmark you use, anywhere up to 20%. So this 992 is actually giving Exynos chipset version phones a 20% boost over the last versions with the 990. This is actually really big news if true, because it's been shown time and time again that those 990 versions of the S20 series have inferior battery life and are just slower in all of the benchmarks, real world and synthetic. So having a boost to the Exynos versions is very, very welcome, and I'm sure a lot of people will welcome this to actually happen. There are, of course, many other factors that affect performance, and certainly we don't know if this is actually going to happen, but it does feed well into the other story, which we discussed recently about a Snapdragon 865 Plus, the overclocked version of Snapdragon's flagship chipset, actually not coming in the second half of the year this time around. Last year, Snapdragon released the 855 and the 855 Plus in the second half of the year to give a lot of Chinese brands another reason to build a flagship, to give them a slight performance boost and something to sell over the first half smartphones. Maybe Samsung knew this and they were always planning to do this, but now the 865 Plus isn't happening as far as we know. Maybe it's scrapped or being pushed back because of market conditions. This gives Samsung a huge opportunity to catch up with the performance of Snapdragons. Let's wait and see what happens with this one though. Definitely good news if it is to happen for sure. It would bring these Exynos phones up to the level of Snapdragon phones, but they may have already decided to put the Snapdragon 865 and the Exynos 990 in the phones, the same as the S20 series, and that's what they usually do every year. So treat with caution and look out for more information. Subscribe for all the latest tech news and videos. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next one.